Hi. So have just been sitting here in what I call the way back, which is like the very back of our property, right up against the fence line here. There's like the property behind. There's a big field, and I was hanging out with the deer. I don't. They've moved a little further away now, so I don't know if you can even see them, but there's a whole flock or herd of deer out there. Anyway, I am recording this because I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what's been on my mind, what's on my heart, and a little bit about my own journey. So feel free to just kind of, settle in, have a sip of your tea or whatever. And yeah, so. Okay, so I was especially reflecting on the fact that we're in a leap year here now. And it's February, and I was thinking back to like, where was I the last leap year? February. So February of 2020. Oh my goodness. And as I'm sure all over the world, obviously, there have been some huge changes that have happened since then. I am not immune to those changes, and I have had a huge, what feels to me like a quantum leap for myself in my own personal growth journey. And I've learned so much. And I was thinking back to what if I could distill it down into like, what is some of the biggest shift that I've experienced for myself? And so I would say that for me, it's been this really beautiful deepening into truly feeling like I am my own best friend. I still have other great friends out there too, of course, which is fantastic and I'm super grateful for. And also, my whole internal dialogue has changed really dramatically. And there was certainly some slow and steady progress with this over the years, compared to, for example, like 20 or even 30 years ago, when my internal dialogue was really not particularly pleasant. And I would hear myself say things to myself that like I would never say to a friend, like ever. And I feel like, there's lots of people out there, and perhaps, you're one of them who can relate to that, really speaking unkindly to yourself, beating yourself up, giving yourself a hard time about stuff, and really getting down on yourself about, whatever happens to be going on. And so for me, like, the shift has been so dramatic that like it feels like a real transformation, in that there's no like backslides. Like, I can't imagine ever going back to, speaking the way that I used to myself. And that includes well, yeah, like even those times where I am going through some challenging times, and maybe I'm not living up to, the expectations that I'd set out for myself, or my goals or whatever. I'm still able to be with myself in those places of struggle with so much more compassion than I used to be able to. And truly, I can really like be connected with feeling like I'm my own inner cheerleader, and saying all sorts of like friendly things to myself. And this might sound like trite, or like, anyway, but I will just say that from my perspective, it has been really life-changing. And I was thinking back to like, what were some of the things that really helped to facilitate this amazing transformation for me. And again, this transformation, it's so dramatic that maybe not necessarily 4 years ago, but there certainly was a time in my life where if the me now could go back and speak to that younger me, like I would not only would I not believe that that was possible? I feel like the younger me would have met the me now almost with like disdain, because it just felt like so far out of reach. And I remember I used to be really turned off by like the whole Pollyanna kind of thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, and now I'm sure I must seem very Pollyanna like, to, I certainly am way more that way to myself than I once upon a time thought was acceptable. Now I freaking love it. It's like I get to wear sparkles and hearts and like all sorts of stuff, and it's fantastic, like, anyway. That's like somehow I feel like I got a little sidetracked there. So, but yeah, so coming back to like what helped to facilitate this for me, honestly, it really has been a huge up-leveling in my skill set and my toolkit, with learning some frameworks for how to speak to myself, and really but the biggest difference, I have been a lifelong learner ever since I was a little kid. And, I've been really passionately driven to find and access and, put into practice for myself, tools for positive transformation. I was a pretty serious little kid, and I definitely went through some pretty dark times. And so I was really, quite desperately searching for answers and ways of helping myself feel better. So even though there has been this like lifelong, passion of mine, which has led me into, sharing some of these tools with others for sure. Really like the last 4 years, it's been since I have been on the receiving end of life coaching that's made like the biggest difference for me. And I know that like, coaching is like, can mean all sorts of things to all sorts of people. And just like massage, there's so many different kinds of massage and different approaches, and different people have different styles and all of that kind of stuff. I feel like, and within my being on the receiving end of coaching, I certainly have also come across different styles and found ones that were like more aligned, and some that weren't so aligned. And so yeah, but I kind of want to demystify coaching a little bit, or like normalize it a bit, in that, it really has helped me to be able to really settle into like a deeper level of trust within myself, as well as, receiving that support to be able to help me navigate those tricky times where, sometimes I want to back out on commitments to myself or whatever it is, we all go through struggles, and having the right kind of support to help you get through the struggles in a way that really helps to highlight your own like resourcefulness, and isn't necessarily just like, telling you what to do, but because I feel like really, like when it comes down to it, like intrinsically, we all have a sense of like what we want to do. It's just sometimes we can kind of like get in our own way about it. And a lot of those times that can be because we are still carrying around patterns from the past that really are based on outdated information that truly like no longer serve us. And it can be really hard to shift those patterns without support. And so it's been my absolute joy and pleasure to be bringing in this work in with the people that I work with. And so far I've been doing it mostly one-on-one. I've had a few like little workshops here and there, but mostly when I'm working with people over the course of weeks or months, it's been one-on-one, and it's been like so amazing. I love it so freaking much. I was telling my husband the other day, because the people that I work with are so kind, and they're so wonderful, and it just, sometimes we kind of forget how wonderful we are, right? And so like when I had a couple of really beautiful sessions with the people that I'm working with, and I came home and I was like, man, I love that I get to like remind awesome people how awesome they are. Like, it's so uplifting, you know, and we certainly get into some pretty deep dive places, and there's such a like buoyancy about it. Like it's so, anyway, you know, kind of talking about it, it's kind of like talking about a massage is so different than just experiencing a massage. So I have been really feeling the call to be putting together more group work for people. And I'm not talking about like hundreds of people in like those giant Zoom rooms where like, you know, it's impossible to feel really particularly connected. I'm talking about like, you know, a small group creating a really safe space and having a few extra people along the journey. It really, it's like, it's, I know for myself, having been part of some really beautiful groups, it has really enriched the entire process, you know, like because we all learn from each other as well. And there have been so many times where I've been on a session where, like a group call where someone else has asked a question and I didn't even know that I had that question, but hearing the answer was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad I was here for that. And I've shown up to group calls where it's like I don't necessarily feel like I like have a question that I'm coming to the group with, but I certainly always am so glad that I joined. And so yeah, so I'm feeling like it's time now to be helping to facilitate this kind of beautiful group container of support that is like we're like building the chrysalis, you know. So we're going to be diving into this work together so that you can really deepen in to your own trust within yourself, and you can build some skills and you know, enhance your toolkit, as well as really begin to, you know, clarify for yourself how you are wanting to like be in the world, and then actually receive support while you are, you know, testing out that new way of being, which can be, you know, a bit delicate at first. You know, we're literally physiologically building new neural networks, and all of that can be, it's quite a delicate process at first. It's kind of like, you know, bushwhacking when you're used to going along a forest path and it's a well-worn path, and so it's really easy to follow. And even if you're like, I've been on this path before and I know where it goes, and I actually don't want to go where this path is going, I want to see a different view, and there isn't a clear path, but you have this like, you know, you're being pulled forward and you're like, I really want to go this other way. And so you start bushwhacking, and it can be hard. You know, bushwhacking is some work. And also, you know, like that view that you'll be able to have access, that different perspective, that different way of being with yourself, you know, certainly calling upon some of your own resourcefulness to be able to navigate, and knowing that there are other people along the path with you, and especially if there are some who have some skills, like some guidance around helping to navigate some of those obstacles, it just can make all the difference. So here in this moment, I am inviting you just to, like, wherever you are, just allow yourself to tune in for a moment and consider, you know, what is life calling you forward into? What is your heart and soul wanting to have you experience in this lifetime? Like, what is it that you're feeling like magnetically drawn towards? What is it that you would like to experience for yourself? Perhaps more ease, perhaps feeling more harmony. What is it that you would like for yourself? Perhaps it's a project that you've been putting off for a long time. You know, so just as you're diving into that vision for yourself, from that place, I'm also curious, like, what where are you now and what feels like it's in the way? Like, why aren't you doing that thing? And full compassion here. This is not about judgment or anything like that. It's simply about being real with yourself, about recognizing, Tony Robbins says we get what we tolerate, and that is so true. And I feel like, that tolerance, it's really like, it just like it feels like poison for our dreams, like it's like, oh, everything's fine, like I shouldn't complain, like things are pretty good, like so many other people have it so much worse off than me, blah 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 blah. Like, you are allowed to have a good life, to have a great life, to have a life full of joy, to have a life that you love. Like, you are allowed to experience that. You are allowed to give yourself permission to explore, like, how that might show up for you. And so here I invite you that if it feels like I'm gonna say that, whether it's like support from me, whether it's support from someone else, like whatever it is, just really remembering that we're in this whole planet Earth thing together, right? We're in this life together, and we aren't meant to suffer alone. We really are stronger together. And every act of kindness towards yourself and others counts. So I am going to pop a link down below so that you can, if this is, sparked any tiny glimmer of curiosity about the group that I'm going to be leading. Enrollment closes on Wednesday, February 28th. So like sort of as we're just wrapping up into and we start to like leap our way forward with this leap year the next day. I am so excited to see sorry, my phone just gave me a notification. I'm so excited to see who's going to be joining me on this journey. And the people that have signed up so far are so kind and such beautiful people to spend some time with. It's such a beautiful foundation for this group, and I'm so excited to see who else is going to be joining us for this journey. So it's called Alchemize Your Power, transform what holds you back into what keeps you on track. What? Yes, you can. It is totally, totally possible. And especially with the right support. So I will leave you with that for today. I don't know, I can't zoom in, so I wish it was easier to show you the deer. That's why I'm back here with this slightly hilarious view of the of the dilapidated barn in the backfield there. But yeah, and just full disclosure, it's like, oh, there's our house. Anyway, I hope you're having a beautiful, lovely day wherever you are. And I am beaming you love through time and space so that it reaches you right now. All right. Thank you so much for being here with me. And until next time. Mwah.